In this session, we've looked at two stubborn facts, which you have to deal with if you want to find a different explanation for the resurrection. The cross could not have been survived, and the body could not have been stolen. But there's a third one too. The tomb could not have been confused. There were lots of tombs in those days on the slopes outside the walls of Jerusalem. There still are. So isn't it possible that somebody went to the wrong tomb, an empty one? And without waiting to discover their mistake, they might have gone off and spread the news that Jesus' tomb was empty. The story would have spread like wildfire, and the authorities could do nothing to stop it. Then, people would start claiming to have seen Jesus, just as today they claim to have sighted Elvis at the bus station, and the legend would grow and grow. Isn't this reconstruction just as plausible as the Christian version? You can probably already work out what's wrong with it, just from the evidence we've examined so far. But let's look at three objections. First, Jesus' tomb wasn't empty. What convinced Peter and John when they came running to see for themselves was that the bandages were still there, and the head covering had rolled off into a corner by itself, just as if the body had risen through it. There was no evidence of bandages being torn off in a hurry by someone who had just revived, or by some robber who was smuggling the corpse away. But still, there were bandages. This wasn't the wrong tomb. Jesus had really been there. Second, the authorities weren't powerless to stop the story. If they really did have Jesus' body all snug and secure in the real tomb somewhere down the road, all they had to do was to show people the truth. Put Jesus' corpse on display for a couple of days, and nobody in Jerusalem would be fooled any longer. When Mussolini was shot towards the end of the Second World War, people all over Italy wondered if it was true. After all, he had escaped before. But as soon as they saw pictures of Il Duce and his mistress hanging upside down from a rusty beam outside a Milan petrol station, they knew he was gone and he wasn't coming back. Finally, the incredible change in the disciples can't be explained by this theory. Yes, they might have been excited and thrilled for a short while by seeing an empty tomb, but then doubts would have to creep in. The most obvious thought being, did we really go to the right place? I can't imagine that a skeptic like Thomas wouldn't have gone back to check. You don't base the rest of your life on one silly mistaken assumption. You make sure your facts are in order. When Jesus started appearing to them shortly afterwards, they didn't just blindly accept that a miracle was happening. Some of them, Thomas in particular, took a lot of convincing. And even 6 weeks later, when Jesus finally came to them for the last time, it's recorded that some doubted whether it was him or not. There wasn't a happy, uncritical atmosphere of blind, credulous believing. These guys knew it would alter everything if Jesus were really there, and so they needed to be certain. And the fact is, as history records, they did become certain. They took their message to the very heart of the Roman Empire, and they paid for it. But nothing could shake their conviction that for just once in human history, somebody did really come back from the dead. He'd come back to show that death was a defeated enemy, that friendship with God was truly possible for any human being that would accept it, and that he himself was the King of Glory, not just another dead body.